Hello and welcome back to your daily dose of .NET. Today's episode is the first part of a short series, in which we're going to be building a simple calculator app from scratch using .NET MAUI and XAML. If you like this type of content and would love to see more, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. For this tutorial, we're going to be using the Community Edition of Visual Studio and testing our app on an Android device. If you don't have Visual Studio installed, visit the link in the description for guidance on how to set up your computer for .NET MAUI development. Let's get started. First, we need to create a new .NET MAUI project in Visual Studio. To do this, click on the Create a New Project button on the Start window. On the next screen, select .NET MAUI from the Project Types drop-down to filter out the options, select .NET MAUI App, and click Next. Then you can name your project and select the location where it should be created on your PC. Once you're done, proceed to the next screen. Leave .NET 8.0 selected as the target framework and click the Create button. Once the project has been created with the default template, we can now run the application on any platform we're building for. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to be testing our UI on Android. So in the drop-down next to the green play button at the top of the screen, make sure to select the device or Android emulator you want to run the app on. Next, click the green play button or press F5 to start debugging the app. Once the build and installation process is done, the app will automatically launch on your selected device or emulator. Now that the app is running, we can test out .NET MAUI's hot reload functionality, which allows us to make changes to the UI without having to restart the application. To test this, you can modify the text in the label to say "Welcome to your daily dose of .NET" or whatever you want, and you should see the changes immediately reflected in your application. Pretty cool, right? So now let's get started with building this calculator UI. .NET MAUI provides different layout controls that we can use to position elements on the screen in any way we want. Looking at our reference image, we can see that there are two main sections stacked vertically, the calculator display and the buttons. We can achieve this simple layout using different approaches, but for simplicity, we're going to be using a grid. So we'll delete the scroll view layout and everything inside it, and we'll define a grid with two rows, which we can specify using the row definitions property. The first row will have a height of 200, while the second will have a height of star, which means that it'll take up the rest of the space. Since we've modified the mainpage.xaml file, we'll need to also modify the code behind file and remove the onCounterClick method. Now that we've defined the base layout, let's work on the first section of the screen, the calculator's display. From the reference image, we can see that this section has rounded corners on the bottom edges. To do this, we can use the border control, which lets us define a stroke shape. We can set the stroke shape to round rectangle and enter values for how rounded the edges should be. The order of the values goes from top left to top right, then bottom left, and then bottom right. So to achieve the look in the image, we can set the top left and top right values to 0 and the bottom ones to 25. Next, we can begin adding our controls inside of the border control. The calculator display consists of two vertically stacked controls, an editable text field, and a read-only text display. So we're going to use a vertical stack layout and place an entry control and a label inside of it. We'll put in some sample text in both fields so we can see what we're working with and adjust the design as needed. First, we can see that the text for both controls needs to be horizontally aligned to the right. So we can set the horizontal text alignment on both controls to end. We can also set the font size to reasonable values for both controls. As you can see, our entry control has an underline by default and pops up the keyboard anytime it gets focus as it normally should. However, we won't be needing the soft keyboard as we'll be using the calculator buttons to input data. So what we can do is disable that functionality, and we can also remove the underline as well. To do that on Android, head to the Platforms folder. Under Android, open the mainapplication.cs file. Here in the constructor, we can modify the look of the entry control on Android using the entry handler's property mapper. This line of code will set the underline color to transparent, while the other one turns off the keyboard pop-up functionality for the entry. We can also remove the text in the title bar by going to the appshell.xaml file and removing the title property from the shell content control. In the next video, we'll continue building out the rest of the UI and begin working on our app's colors and styles. If you found this content helpful, please leave a like and let me know what you think in the comment section. Thanks for watching your daily dose of .NET, and I'll see you in the next one.